Now, okay, I'm just going to go from here. We're going to go, obviously, I'm on Sam Shamoon's channel. On Thursday, I'll be talking about atheism. So now let me go, where was I here? This is a French genocide, the Vendée, right? And now I want to take you to a paper called Old Gods in New Clothes, the French Revolutionary Cults and the Rebirth of the Golden Age. And then I will briefly touch on, actually, you know what? Let me go to let me go to a PowerPoint presentation. I'll start here. I'm going to do a few pages of this, not every page. So I just need to track where I'm going. And I want to give an introduction, but I want you to understand. I want you to learn this. I want you to talk about this. I want you to discuss it in social media. Present this. Take screenshots if you have to. I'll be happy to share some of this with you. And atheists need to own this. Right? Do you recommend buying the book? The book is available in my archive. So the book is available in my archive. So you will be able to find the book. Let me just get to that reference for you again. If you look up Secha, you will find this in my Google archive. It links always in the description to my full research archive. Viola 90, Polishare, Dobry wieczór, Witaj. So, Hitler was a great fan of Muhammad. Okay, so on this topic, okay, briefly, let me show you briefly what this is about, then I'll show you some. So this is just an overview of what I'm working on at the moment, right? So this is a thesis. Now, very often when you struggle to find material, like let's say certain Islamic material, and it's hard to get it, it's behind a paywall, which is sometimes, it's almost impossible. You will often find a thesis that talks about the topic. And you can find these theses, very often they're public, download them and they will quote and they will discuss relevant sections of that. So that's a very good way to get hold of these things. Okay? Right. So, correct, Rosemary. Mr. H was only a Christian when he was appealing for voters, right, for his government. And then afterwards he turned on them. Where do you get all these documents? That's classified information, Brandon. Okay, let me talk about this. This paper is very interesting. This is really interesting. Now, this is a topic that has been examined recently in the last 20 years or so. There's been more and more examination of the occult within the Nazis, right, within the Nazi ideology. Now, this was obviously once considered the domain of conspiracy theorists, crazies, loonies. Now it's taken seriously. There are more and more scholars that are researching the occult within Nazism, right, within the beliefs of the Nazis. However, this has been overlooked because many, many scholars actually have a preference, a bias towards the French Revolution. The French Revolution brought liberty, equality, fraternity, and so on. The French Revolution brought insanity, savagery, barbarity. It was a dark period. Okay? So, Chapter 2, Mysticism and the Occult in Ancient Regime France, and Esotericism or Esotericism in the Revolutionary Cults, right? So, briefly, I'm not going to go through all of this, but let's go through some highlights. Officially advertised as a celebration of the unveiling of the new constitution, right, once they overthrew the old regime, this festival featured some of the most bizarre iconography, right? And Jacques-Louis David, he's an artist, and there's a very interesting story around him I will cover with Sam. This statue was of a bare-breasted Egyptian nature goddess, Isis, the head goddess of the ancient Egyptian pantheon. Now, these are rationalists who are looking at Christianity as completely superstitious, as unnatural, as something that is primitive. And now they have turned to paganism. This fete comprised an interesting melange of images, considering this was no procession belonging to a Greco-Roman mystery religion because it resembled one, but a new secular religion of an enlightened republic. Atheism was a rejection of Christianity and the creation, using the template of Catholicism, using the template of Christianity to create a new secular religion. Atheism was founded as a religion. Please understand this. Radical political leaders copied and reshaped ancient concepts, symbols, and religious rituals for the sake of creating a new state religion designed to replace Catholicism in France. Robespierre repackaged pre-Christian religious traditions as a new rational and natural religious system. Right? They followed the romantic philosophical cues of Jean-Jacques Rousseau. The new religions of state would strip off the quote-unquote superstition of the church and return man to a mythical golden age guided by general revelation. And it was mythical. He had an entirely mythical view of history. Christianity was officially outlawed in France in 1793. It was a byword for backwardness, and the state equated it as the opposite of all things enlightened, as opposed to the pagan-influenced traditions of the new state. This is the very first atheistic state. This is the first modern Western atheistic religion. Because once you've... Hey, horse, welcome. Damian, welcome. Once you've stripped out Christianity, you leave a void. And they filled that void with these crazy beliefs. Atheism is not neutral. Atheism is paganism. We can trace it back to Greek paganism, as these people did as well. And we can certainly start tying it to the occult. Because if there is no God, but because they chose not to believe in God, yes, this was horrific. I can't explain to you how bad this got. Anti-Christian government can marry paganism to the in vogue quote-unquote natural philosophy and tout this new amalgamated belief system as rational, right? So rationalized superstition would rear its ugly head again during the first half of the 20th century in the Third Reich, highlighting the dangerous power of secularized state religion. The cultural historiography of Nazism has begun to explore the unholy brew of occultism, mysticism, and ancient pre-Christian traditions, mytho-history, and scientism in recent years. Previously, such topics as the influence of popular occultism in National Socialism were the sole stomping grounds of pseudo-historians and conspiracy theorists. So what they say, welcome Tony, welcome DHC. So this was once conspiracy theory. Now it's taken as historical fact, right? So what they're saying is now, for some reason, this has escaped the attention of historians in terms of the French Revolution, right? So historians continue to ignore the eccentricities of the French Revolution's state cults, right? Atheism was the cult of reason. No wonder they fall for Islam now, correct? You strip out one set of ideas, you have this void, this, and thus Islam and other crazy occult pagan ideas come into the void. No Christ leaves room for Satan. Exactly.